What's good, everyone? This is the All Facts Podcast here. I'm your host, Hars Vikar, and we're finally back to another episode after probably a month now. It must have been tough waiting for a long while when I promised every single week, and yet that hasn't happened yet. However, think there's one thing I gotta actually talk about, and this is actually what this episode is based upon, and uh, and I'm gonna talk about it. And during this month, I had the opportunity to do a global challenge as the program I'm in, the Knowledge Society, decided to have this global challenge set up. They brought this challenge among us where we pick one of the challenge partners and we try to solve what they currently want. So there's four challenge partners such as IKEA, and Walmart, UN, and X Prize. And the one my group and I decided to pick was X Prize. And that was to accurately assess and impact police reform in the United States. That topic seemed to be very vague, as you can't really change the police in an entire country, especially for like a 1 month doing, because normally consultant teams take years and years and years to try to solve problems like this. However, I was only given a month with my team. And not only that, I was with the team, I was also the project manager of the team. So I learned a lot about how to lead, how to focus, and how to basically run a team and try to do the best we can possibly be. So let's start off with how we looked at the police reform. So first, I'm going to tell you what the problem really was and then what the outcome we really wanted as a team. So the problem is that policing in the United States was really a lot of problems. Police brutality had a significant impact, especially when it came to racial discrimination. And many police officers, apart from racial discrimination, they were suffering from due to mental illnesses because really the police system in the United States was not really the best way to train officers to serve the community. And that led to police brutality. And from that, there was also a lack of accountability for police who have committed misconduct. And it's difficult to kind of track that because the only thing you really need in the United States to be a police officer is a high school diploma. And if you get fired from one department, it's easier for you to actually get into another department, regardless of what you did. So what my group wanted to create was major improvements that would be observable in the levels of violent interactions involving the police. So there'll be more important training courses that would provide police officers the skills and knowledge to de-escalate situations and limit bias. And police will also be hold accountable for their actions if they were able to commit misconduct. So what we decided to do was just try to make a product that would bring major improvements in the United States. Unfortunately, I can't really say this item right now because the directors I already sent this idea will still have to look at my deck, and then we'll see from then if I can do it. But however, the three key parts where my group kind of looked into perspective of was community trust, officer wellness, and police accountability. So our vision was to have a country, which is the United States, where policing had less violence and officers' mental health was prioritized and reporting a misconduct was much easier. So that was our vision. But less about my idea and more about what I did and my experience for this. So to sum this up, my experience with this was honestly really great. Knowing that I had to deal with a challenge that really, for X Prize, and normally, if you don't know what X Prize is, X Prize is a nonprofit organization, and they design public competitions that are intended to encourage technological development to benefit humanity. So that's why they kind of gave us the challenge for the program that to impact police reform in the United States. And they're doing this movement so they could try to impact over 1 million people. So this is a pretty big deal. So it was great being a part of this amazing experience because apparently Elon Musk has great ties to X Prize, which is actually amazing because I was able to work on a challenge sort of funded by Elon Musk. So that was amazing for me. More about my experience of the global challenge is that I it was just a really great experience that normally consultants would deal with these types of issues. However, a high school or me was looking into this type of situation, trying to solve a solution for that. Although maybe my solution was not the best, it was still a really great experience. And one thing, and as being the project manager of the team, it was a great experience for me to look at what project managers typically do and how the job really is like when it comes to bigger bigger situations. So now that I see a glimpse of what they do, I can I honestly am more passionate around trying to do that. Thought of myself more as a project manager type of guy, and this experience kind of just helped me develop skills for that. Now I have to look at what the things I did well, the things I can improve on. So the things I did, so I'm gonna go off by saying one thing I really did well and one thing I thought I could really improve on. And this is not even just me speaking. This is actually based off my team speaking as well. It's just that for the fact is I'm trying to summarize what basically happened. So number one, the one thing I did well, according to my team, I was a great leader. I was able to keep everyone in check. I was able to make sure everyone was doing their task properly. I did a great job assigning roles, and I did a great job to involve my team into what our end goal truly was. So it was great. And this is my team stating this, not me. And also another thing my team stated is that I actually tried to involve my team into my initial thoughts, because apparently some members of my team did not have a similar experience. So what they thought of was that I was actually doing a great job contributing to my team, which honestly warmed my heart at the end of the day. So even if it was true or not, I think I can learn from this success that if I were to be in this position again, I'd definitely try to do that again. And the things I can improve on, although I did do a great job and about being a great leader and showing and trying to contribute to my team, I should have really created a culture, creating something that made people look forward to. I really could have made a culture for the team, something that keeps everyone excited, something that drills ambition into the team for wanting to get to the end goal. I really think I could have created a culture. So the environment was kind of a loose environment where everyone was comfortable with each other. Although it wasn't that bad from what I did, I think I really could have created a solidified culture where it was really fun working. It was really fun to work, and we were able to consistently do a lot of great things to make sure our end goal was feasible. Another thing I did well was giving everyone the task they were much willing to do. As for a lot of the times, I kind of gave more of like a research-based task. However, I kind of did it based off from me knowing my team and me knowing their strengths and weaknesses. As being a great project manager, you kind of have to know the strengths and weaknesses of your team, and you have to build upon what they can do. You have to build upon what they can do. So I think I did a really great job on, and my team also states this too, that I did a really great job to push them to build their strengths and make sure they develop more skills that way, and avoid what they cannot do and make sure someone else can cover that for them. So I think I did a really great job for that. And one thing I really think I could have improved on was just consistency. I know consistency is key, and like that is the key to mastery. It wasn't too bad. However, at the same time, I think due to the lack of availability from a lot of my team members, including myself, it kind of just kept our trajectory not as up to what we should have done, especially since we only have a month to work on this. It could have been a lot more, it could have been a lot better. Consistency is the key, and I think there was always room for improvement on consistency. So another thing I did well was we did what we could. Although I did say we could have been more consistency, I think we did what we could. I did to what was given the amount of, I was only given 1 month to work on this, and I think I did what I could for that 1 month. Although a lot of things could have gone better, I think I did great for that 1 month. We got it done. I tried to make a loose environment where everyone was comfortable. I gave everyone tasks. we end up getting a great result and possibly great deck. I think we did what we could with the short amount of time. I have actually three things I could have improved on more. Although these steps were kind of great on or things I did well on as well, but I think I really could have improved on these aspects. Number one is being aware and understanding the problem. So most of the time, it wasn't bad when I was trying to define the problem. I think really I should have been aware around what was happening right now, and I did kind of make my team research plus myself, like what around the policing environment was happening right now, and what could we use to contribute to that, and then what can we do right now to implement. Although we did kind of get a result like that, if we could have done that for most of the time, then that would have eventually led to a better outcome and better project. However, I do think if we were more aware, and not even just being more aware, probably just speaking to more professionals about this concept or other groups that were working on this concept. I think if we did more of that, my group and I would have definitely excelled to a much better speed. And two, network. I think I really could have networked with a lot more people. I did not try to network with a lot of people that were police reform advocates, or they were activists for like policing equity. However, I think I really could have just done more. It doesn't hurt to know more people. And the final thing I really should have done was definitely something a project manager should do. And that is just to define the goal and create the steps into it. So during the week, I would kind of think about mental models like such as Ishikawa diagram, first principles, and then second order thinking. I'll think of many of those mental models and problem solving tools. It's just we really should have tried to work backwards from this case. In my opinion, I really think my group should try to work backwards, kind of look at the end goal and then look at one certain aspect and then try to build our way back and see where we are now and then how we can move into each single step. That way, everything would have been a lot more clear, especially some of the concerns I had my group said to me was that making sure we kind of had a defined solution and making sure they were aware of what the end goal really was. However, I think it was a problem with me due to the fact that I could have definitely defined the goal a lot earlier. And then if the earlier we had our goal, the easier the solution would have definitely became. And since it wasn't that bad, and I guess it would have been a great team effort to solve that. I think it all comes down to the project manager and how he deals with it. In this case, it was me. So I had to deal with a really great concept right there. So that's just my experience as a project manager. Maybe if you are a project manager listening to this and you have some tips, you can just let me know on that. That was really great. However, I just like to speak a lot more on police reform. So I was actually speaking to someone yesterday about this topic, and we kind of just came to a conclusion that like maybe if a lot of the reasons why police are kind of just they misutilize their force is due to the fact that some people won't just listen to the police, and because they're not listening to the police get scared, and that eventually doesn't lead to a great thing. But I think this is a huge issue. But it also comes down to this. The reason why people don't trust the police is because of what they see on the news, is because of what the officers themselves engage themselves into. And it also is mostly in the United States. Basically, police officers are not strictly trained to serve the community. As I said this before. So the core values I like to get out of that is just that if there are four things you'd look at, especially for police reform, you want to improve mental health among officers, not even just mental health, even physical health too. You want to make sure officers are their healthiest selves. But you also want to keep a great community officer relationship, as I don't really remember officers interacting with their communities and making sure that community is as the best it can be. I haven't really seen that in a long time, and I hope that can eventually lead to a healthy officer community relationship. And also another these two things which are they're all over the news, they're all over everything, just reduction in police brutality and uplifting victims of police misconduct. So police need to really be held accountable for any action they do. Plus, and if that were to happen, then the reduction of police brutality will decrease. And how will that happen is just due to the fact of qualified immunity. Qualified immunity is basically how a cop can back themselves up from just simply not holding themselves accountable. And that happens quite often in the United States. So if we were to talk about police reform, those are the perspectives we all have to think about and how we can solve that. When it comes to police brutality, you think the rate of police brutality in the United States is increasing. Well, here are some data points about police brutality. Well, since 2015, 6,600 people have been killed by the police, and most of them were men, most common among people that were 20 to 35 years of age. A lot of officers, 35% in fact, they all suffer from PTSD. And most of the officers actually die from suicide in the line of duty. And when it comes to accountability, a lot of bias happens. As in 2020, there was actually this chart by the FBI. They cut up about hate crimes. 61% came from race, ethnicity, and ancestry. 13% came from religion, and 20% came from sexual orientation. So a lot of the times police are also biased as well. And that also led to the fact that they are not really strictly trained for that. However, the way these things are being addressed is just not great, because there's also no way to create training where bias can be taken out, especially right now. Right now, there's no way bias can be taken out in training. And right now, like policy legislation may block further legal action to better policing. So what that means is that most of the time, well, when it comes to law enforcement agencies, they're not necessarily contributing to the lack of better policing. They're more lazy to even just bring the stats out, which when you look at police reform in general, what I just tell you are just facts and stats and all that. However, is there really a way to solve police reform? I guess so, but what I just said is mostly just based off the United States, of course, but it's also mostly based off of how police reform is. When we think of police reform, we try to think of we think of officer wellness, police brutality, police accountability. There's one thing I believe that's kind of left out, and I think it's just the fact that human behavior is what is holding us back to better policing. As I said earlier, law enforcement agencies are just lazy to bring out the stats. Maybe not lazy, but they don't participate to track police-involved fatalities. Which, if we were trying to impact police reform in the United States, this will not. Law enforcement agencies shouldn't be able to do. They should be able to track. They should be able to do all of that. And problematic officers should not really use qualified immunity to back themselves up. Whoever is victimized by the police, they cannot hold them accountable even when the victim's rights have been violated. This is how it is. So I think the biggest reason into all of this is just human behavior. Even when you could think about, let's think about space exploration, for example. Multiple times, a lot of space exploration advocates, they will say the biggest thing holding humanity back from going to Mars is human behavior, because there's multiple money spent on military services, especially in the United States. I think 10.5% of the US's budget goes to the military, I think. So that is a lot of money just given into, and the fact is police, which is kind of like under the military, they also have access to that. They also have access to those. However, even the government, they don't try to put the money to impact police reform in the United States, and not even just the United States, maybe in any other country as well. Like Europe and Canada, Russia, I think do not have the same amount of problems that the US police do. However, they could have their own problems. And I think the biggest reasons why those problems are not solved yet is due to the fact that human behavior is just holding us back. And back to the space exploration, when you think human behavior is holding us back from going into Mars, due to everyone being patriots for their country, that they want to go into all these wars, they want to go into all these. This is what human behavior is kind of become. I'm not going to stand here and be like an activist and say, "Oh, we should stop wars and all that," or we should stop being who we are. Where we just kind of we are these like in a psychological aspect, we all think like humans are like violent creatures. I I don't know about that, but I do think if there was a reason why police reform isn't impacting the United States or even just any in part of the world is maybe due to the fact that they're not willing to put in the money and they're not willing to train police officers so that they can limit the bias, they can make sure the officers have the service mentality to serve their service mentality so they can help their community. That leads to the community trusting the police and the problems of officer wellness will not be solved due with the lack of training and even police not wanting to even try to help their mental state due to the fact that they since police are kind of are held to this image of being the saviors and all, and then since they have this dark image placed upon them from multiple news of police brutality and all of that, it leads to the point of how officers are just afraid of who they are and they're afraid of even serving the community. And the biggest reason of why police reform is not at a great trajectory is because of human behavior and officer wellness as well. So there's a lot to take in this episode. I'm recording this right now and I'm saying like, man, I I definitely learned a lot in the last month from just focusing on the challenge. And now since it's over, I'm just like, man, this is a lot to take in. However, like working alongside X Prize was a really great opportunity. Being a project manager itself, and things I did do well and things I did not do well, I still have to think about for maybe the next time. Hopefully, I'm in that position because that was actually really fun being that. And police reform itself, maybe I'd talk more about this another day. And however, this is just a general basis of it, and this is what I think about it, and this is what I looked into for the past few months, for the past month, I mean. So I hope you enjoy this. It's been a month since I've had it, but you'll see you'll see more of this. So you'll see more of it. Don't worry. However, like if you want me to talk about any topic, I actually did post a tweet about good podcast topics to speak about. And I've got a lot of feedback from that. So if you want me to talk about a certain thing, maybe send a message on Anchor. If you're on YouTube, just comment it. Or if you want to see that tweet, follow me. It's Cashway both lowercase 721. And yeah, you can. It's gonna be the pinned tweet, so you can type whatever you'd like. I hope you learned something new today about police reform, especially since I might bring this up again on another day. This might be another episode. However, this is Horace Fikar, and this is the OffX podcast, and I'm out.